Welcome back to our exciting video, Liberty half-dollar coins from the years 1971, 1972, 1974, and 1985, covering history, geography, circulation, and uncirculated conditions. It's important to clarify that these are part of the Kennedy half-dollar series, which began in 1964 in honor of President John F. Kennedy, following his assassination in 1963. The term Liberty appears on the obverse of the coin, but these are not Liberty half-dollars in the sense of the older Walking Liberty half-dollar series, 1916 to 1947, since its introduction in 1964. The Kennedy half-dollar has become one of America's most iconic and enduring coin designs. Created as a tribute to President John F. Kennedy, who was assassinated in November 1963, this 50-cent piece replaced the Franklin half-dollar. Sculptors Gilroy Roberts obverse and Frank Gasparro reverse immortalized JFK's legacy with this bold and patriotic design. The series has witnessed important transitions in its metallic composition, mintage practices, and collector interest. Let's get started. First step, there is no Liberty half-dollar dated 1974, at least not officially. Let me clarify everything step by step, and then I'll provide a comprehensive script as if the 1974 half-dollar were being presented in a historical documentary style. The Liberty half-dollar is a term often misused when people refer to various U.S. half-dollar coins. Walking Liberty half-dollar 1916 to 1947 Franklin, half-dollar 1948 to 1963 Kennedy, half-dollar 1964 present, a 1974 half-dollar would be a Kennedy half-dollar, not a Liberty half-dollar. There's no Walking Liberty half-dollar minted in 1974. The series ended in 1947. Obverse, portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, presidential seal. Designed by Frank Gasparro. Mottos Liberty, in God We Trust. E pluribus unum, first minted in 1964, shortly after JFK's assassination 1963. 1974 was one of the years it was still widely minted for circulation, before production shifted mostly to collectors in later years. Got category details: year 1974, denomination, 50 cents mint, Marks B. Philadelphia, the Denver, SC San Francisco. Proof composition, 75% copper, 25% nickel-clad weight, 11.34 grams diameter, 30.6 mm. Treated note, only the 1964 Kennedy half was 90% silver. From 1965 to 1970, it was 40% silver, not 1974. Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark. Mass circulation Denver, Mint D. Circulating coin San Francisco Mint S. Proof coins only high quality. Denver finish. Sold to collectors face value, 50 cents value. Often around 50 cents, $1.50 depending on where in demand. Not rare, used in everyday transactions in the 1970s value, $2, $10 plus. Depending on grade, mint state MS grades, MS62, MS67 graded by PCGS or NGC can command more value, 1974D. In MS67 has auctioned for over $200, $300 in exceptional condition proof coins. 1974S, worth $3, $5 plus. Depending on condition and cameo contrast, voiceover narration begins. Dramatic orchestral music and background. In the shadow of tragedy, America found unity, and in metal, a memory preserved. Following the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November of 1963, the United States responded not only with grief but with commemoration. Within months, plans were underway to redesign the half-dollar, replacing Benjamin Franklin's likeness with that of the fallen president. By March of 1964, the first Kennedy half-dollars were struck in 90% silver, and the public response was overwhelming. The coin was hoarded, cherished, not for its metal, but for its meaning. Fast forward to the year 1974, the world was changing. Nixon sat in the White House amid the fog of Watergate. Gas lines stretched around corners, but in pocket change, the face of JFK still circulated, a quiet echo of American hope. The 1974 Kennedy half-dollar, struck in copper nickel-clad rather than silver, was part of this new generation of currency, resilient, modern, yet nostalgic. Minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, the coin bore no silver, yet carried weight, not just 11.34 grams of metal, but a nation's memory. Collectors today find these coins plentiful in circulated condition. But the uncirculated survivors, those preserved in pristine mint state, offer a different story. A snapshot of the 1970s, frozen in luster and detail. Some still gleam, as if struck yesterday, bearing the powerful image of Kennedy, head held high, liberty inscribed boldly above. These coins are not rare, but they are meaningful. The 1974 Kennedy half-dollar stands not just as currency, but as a continuing tribute, a bridge between the past and present, minted not in silver, but in sentiment. Would you like me to create a printable or narrated version, or explore specific grading values, for example, MS65, PR69? Next up, the Liberty half dollar, from 1972, is actually a misnomer. No coin officially titled the Liberty half dollar was minted in that year. However, there are a few possibilities people often refer to incorrectly as the Liberty half dollar of relevant U.S. half dollars associated with Liberty imagery in the year 1972. In the heart of American coinage lies a timeless tribute to freedom and national pride, the half dollar, and while many coin enthusiasts search for a 1972 Liberty half dollar, the truth is more nuanced. In this in-depth journey, we unravel the complete history behind the U.S. half dollars that bear the image of liberty, examine what was really minted in 1972, and explore the coin's condition, circulation, and collector value today. The term Liberty half dollar traditionally refers to coins that prominently feature the figure or concept of liberty on their obverse front. Classic examples include Liberty seated half dollar 1839 to 1891. However, these coins were not minted in 1972. In fact, no U.S. coin titled Liberty half dollar existed in that year. 2. What was minted in 1972? The official half dollar minted in 1972 was the obverse features a left-facing bust of President Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. Reverse shows the presidential seal, designed by Frank Gasparo. Though not officially called a Liberty half dollar, the word Liberty still appears prominently on the obverse above Kennedy's head. A U.S. coinage tradition. In 1972, Kennedy half dollars were minted at 3 U.S. mint facilities. Mint location, mint mark mintage, figures Philadelphia No. Mark 153, 180,000 Denver 141, 890,000 Cisco's 3, 260,996. Proof only Philadelphia Mint, oldest U.S. mint, located in Pennsylvania. No mint mark was used due Denver Mint, produced circulation coins with a D. Mint mark. San Francisco Mint, focused on proof coinage with the S. Mint mark. By 1972, the Kennedy half dollar was composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, clad over a pure copper core. This was a shift from the 40% silver composition used from 1965 to 1970, and the 90% silver used in 1964. The removal of silver decreased hoarding and allowed for greater general circulation, though the half dollar still saw decreasing use in everyday commerce. These coins were mass-produced and commonly distributed through banks and commerce. However, public interest in using half dollars declined sharply in the 1970s. Circulated coins from this year are usually found with moderate to heavy wear, dull or darkened surfaces, scratchable, scratches or nicks around 50 cents $1. Depending on where and location, these coins were never released into general circulation and retain full luster, typically come from mint sets sold to collectors. Original bankrolls may show mint issues grade description value, estimate Ms. 60 MS62, basic, uncirculated $2 for MS63 MS65 higher quality with fewer marks, $5 $15, Ms. 66 plus, rare quality for $197,220 $50 plus. Note, the 1972D and 1972P half dollars in mint state are common, but the 1972's proof coin is a special collector item with mirror-like surfaces. These were struck for collectors with high pressure on specially prepared dies, only available in proof sets from the U.S. Mint. Features: mirror finish, fields frosted, cameo-like devices, S-Mint mark below Kennedy's neck. Estimated value, PR65, PR69, between $4, $10. Though deep cameo versions can reach $15, $30, or more than 1972 Liberty half dollar is rare. False. It's very common in circulated candidacy. It's made of silver. Only pre-1971 coins may contain silver. It says Liberty on the coin. True. But that's not the official name of the coin. Look for high-grade uncirculated coins or proof versions. Search for varieties and errors, such as double diop, which can be valuable. Consider having high-quality coins, gated by PCGS or NGC. Narrator. Though the 1972 half dollar is often mistakenly called a Liberty half dollar, it's really a chapter in the larger story of America's evolving coinage. With its portrait of President Kennedy and the enduring word liberty above his head, this coin is a tribute not just to a leader, but to a national ideal. For collectors, it offers an accessible gateway into U.S. numismatics, a tangible piece of history you can hold in your hand. Would you like me to create a printable version of this script, or add images of the coin types mentioned? There is no official U.S. Liberty half dollar coin dated 1985. However, your question may refer to one of the following possibilities. A. Commemorative half dollar released in 1986 to celebrate the centennial of the Statue of Liberty, which would commonly be associated with 1985, as its design and production were part of the 1986 The Liberty Coin Act, a privately minted or novelty token replica, dated 1985 featuring the image of Liberty, a misreading or mistyping of a different coin. For example, a 1945 Walking Liberty half dollar, or a Kennedy half dollar from 1985. assuming you're referring to the 1986 Statue of Liberty commemorative $50, which may be labeled as 1985 in promotional or pre-release materials. Here's a full historical and numismatic overview to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty. The U.S. Congress passed the Liberty Coin Act of 1985, authorizing the U.S. Mint to produce a commemorative coin series. This included a copper nickel $50, silver $1 gold, $5, half eagle. Coins were released in 1986, but design and legislation began in 1985, which may explain why some people associate a Liberty $50 with 1985 proceeds from the coin sales. Helped fund the Statue of Liberty. Ellis Island Foundation for restoration work on the monument. $50 were minted at San Francisco Mint. Mint mark for the proof versions, not intended for general circulation. These coins were commemorative and sold directly to the public. They were not issued into circulation. Like Kennedy $50. Feature description type commemorative $50 date 1986. Authorized by 1985 Act composition copper nickel clad like regular halves. Diameter 30.61 weight 11.34 grams. Edgar Z. Stever depicts a young immigrant boy and girl looking at the Statue of Liberty. The children represent the millions of immigrants who passed through. Ellis Island. Designer Cheryl J. Winter shows an eagle in flight in front of the sun. Symbolizes American freedom and a new dawn for immigrants. Version mintage. Value 2024 estimates uncirculated deep $9,280,088 12 proof S. $692,562,710 $15. Note: values can vary based on condition. Packaging, for example, original mint box and COA, and market demand, coins that were never circulated, sold directly by the U.S. Mint. Surfaces remain lustrous, with no wear but may have minor contact marks. Graded from MS60 MS70. Commonly found in original packaging. Blue box for uncirculated, black box for proof. High-quality coins. Struck with specially prepared dies, mirror-like fields and frosted designs. Graded from PR60, PR70. Often comes in display cases with a certificate of authenticity, COA. First commemorative $50 since 1954. Patriotic piece that links numismatics with immigration history. Highlights how coins can support public projects. Proceeds helped fund the statue's restoration. One of the most widely distributed commemorative coins in U.S. history. Look for original packaging for best value. Graded coins by PCGS or NGC with high grades like MSPR 6970 are ideal for investment. Despite high demand remains due to the emotional connection with the Statue of Liberty. If you meant a different coin, dated 1985, such as a Kennedy $50, or another design with Liberty on it, I can give a separate breakdown. Just let me know. Would you like me to create a display placard, collector's guide, or certificate style write-up for this coin? Last up, 1971 Liberty $50 note that while many call it a Liberty $50, the correct name for the 1971 $50 is the Kennedy $50, as it features President John F. Kennedy on the obverse. The term Liberty appears above his head, which leads to the common misnomer. It's round, it's silvered, it carries the word Liberty across the top, and the profile of a fallen president. But what lies behind the 1971 Kennedy $50 is a story woven through tragedy, patriotism, politics, and a changing American economy. Today, we uncover the complete story behind this iconic piece of American coinage. The story begins on November 22, 1963, the day President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. Just hours after the tragic event, conversations began in Washington about how to honor the late president. The idea of placing his portrait on U.S. currency gained immediate traction. In early 1964, the U.S. Mint, under Treasury Secretary Douglas Dillon, announced the Kennedy $50 would replace the Benjamin Franklin design, which had only been minted since 1948. Mint chief engraver Gilroy Roberts and assistant engraver Frank Gasparo worked quickly to design the obverse and reverse, respectively. The coin was released to the public in March 1964, and Americans hoarded it instantly. Fast forward to 1971, after 7 years of minting silver Kennedy $50, the U.S. Mint changed direction. Rising silver prices had made the 90% and later 40% silver coins too costly. The 1971 Kennedy $50 became the first clad version with no silver content. The coins were minted at 3 facilities: Philadelphia Mint, No Mint; Mark Denver Mint, D Mint; Mark San Francisco Mint, primarily. Produce proof versions S Mint mark. Let's examine the physical nature of this coin. The 1971 Kennedy $50 consists of a copper-nickel clad composition, a pure copper core sandwiched between 2 outer layers of 75% copper and 25% nickel. Diameter 30.6 ohm. Weight 11.34 grams. Edge redid designer Gilroy Roberts. Obverse Frank Gasparo. Reversed despite initial public enthusiasm. The $50 was falling out of favor in daily transactions by the early 1970s. Americans increasingly preferred quarters and dollars. As a result, most Kennedy half dollars, including those from 1971, were not widely circulated. Many ended up in bank vaults, collector albums, or were used primarily in casinos. The 1971 coin, while once common, became more of a collector's item than a working coin. So, what is a 1971 Kennedy half dollar worth today? Well, that depends on its condition. Value, usually face value 50 cents to around $1.50, depending on where. Common, and not rare. Grade MS60 MS65, typically worth $2 to $10. Grade MS66 or higher, may fetch $25 or more, especially if well struck, minted in San Francisco's mint mark. Value, $4 to $8. More if cameo or deep cameo contrast is present. Watch for double dyes, missing clad layers, or off-center strikes. Some error coins from 1971 can be worth hundreds, or even thousands depending on rarity and condition. The Kennedy half dollar has now been minted for over 6 decades, but the 1971 version marks a critical turning point, a shift from precious metal to practicality. It reflects a changing America, one moving away from traditional coin usage, grappling with inflation, and shifting values around money and memory. Though often called a Liberty half dollar, its truest name is a Kennedy half dollar. But that iconic word, liberty, reminds us that this coin doesn't just represent a president. It symbolizes the ideals of a nation. Next time you find a 1971 Kennedy half dollar in your change jar, remember, you're not just holding 50 cents. You're holding a story, a legacy, and a piece of American history. Feature 1971 Kennedy half dollar compositor nickel-clad silver content mint. Marks no mint. Mark P. DS weight 11.34 grams diameter, 30.6 emit. Treated common. Value circulated 50 cents. $1.50 uncirculated value $2. $1.10 plus designer Roberts OBV. Gasparo Rev historical significance. First non-silver Kennedy, would you like a printable or video-friendly version of this script as well, or images to accompany it?